All right. So I was answering you. Let's see. The person I was answering is not even back. Are you back yet? Let's give the rest of them a few minutes to join in. Is he back yet? Is he back yet? He's not. Should I go on answering this question without him? It wouldn't be fair.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right.
I think it's back.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's make progress. Hold on, I'm trying to fix that. Okay. So let's proceed. Oh, who's trying to call me? Give me a minute. Hello? I'll call you back. I'll call you back. All right, let's proceed. Sorry, guys. Okay, somebody else has a question of saying that, so I'll answer that question shortly. Okay, so when you have zones, when you have areas you are not certain, okay, you're not certain about, okay, so possibly I have this range, okay, I want to deal with, and then there are two other points I could closer to the extreme that I could possibly be working with. Okay, am I recording? If you're in a noisy environment, please. If you're in a noisy environment, please help me mute your mic so I don't have to do that myself. Screen share. All right. So what you just do in that kind of a time, especially when you're still trying to wrap your head around the whole thing, is to, oh God, I'm hearing too many recording in progress. I don't know who else has rights to record at the end outside myself, but I'll try to restrict that from the last meeting. I do that deliberately because I don't want my contents everywhere. I don't know why else you should be trying to record when I'm already recording and to be sent to the group. It's wrong to do that. Okay, so like I was saying, so when you have an area you're not very certain with, you're not certain about, right? What you can do is just try to ensure your stop loss covers the whole area. Okay, it's better than you trying to worry. Now, you should understand that you're not trying to be a magician. You're not trying to be perfect. That's not why you're here. Okay, so once you realize that you're fighting or stressing your mind towards with trusting a particular, which particular area could work, if all of them are together in a single row, as close as this one is, you can just wrap both of them together and then let it play. Okay, it saves you the stress of wanting to do magic. You're not a magician, you're a trader. Okay, so if your mind cannot actually phantom, it means it's not clear enough, or it means you are not conversant with the story that's present. Just work with the story you can see and don't try to be magical with it. Okay, so somebody else was asking, what could make price grab liquidity from below a flip zone? Okay, why would price want to grab liquidity from below a flip zone? Okay, and then I think somebody sent me a chart. We can look at that chart and then let me see if I can get that pricing. Give me a minute, guys. So I think I would. Give me a minute. Let me check that question on Telegram. Let me see if I have that chat on Telegram so I can share it here and then we analyze it together. What's your name? The guy that sent me the stuff. Breaker blocks and flip zones are not the same thing. Okay, breaker blocks and flip zones are not the same thing. Please. I've explained that severally, and then I've talked about that on a few videos. So you should see that in the library. I'm trying to get the guy that asked the question. He said he has sent it to my DM, the picture of the question I was asking. So let us see the scenario where that happened and then try to know where it happened. I can't get your name. Please, if you're here, can you indicate so you resend that? Let's deal with it. If not, we'll have to skip that. I think he's not on this call, except he's here and then he's just not responding to me. I don't know. Can we see a good example of flip zone on DXY weekly charts? Let me see the DXY weekly chart. Let me see the DXY weekly chart. Weekly. 1 week. So let's try to see. Nice. Let's see if that aligns. No. Okay, I would not call this a flip zone. Okay. This is not a flip zone on the weekly chart. It would have been a flip zone if we took out this low. Okay, if we had taken out this low, right, it would have been a flip zone. Okay, then we would have seen the price gave us this and then tried to do this, but failed, and then continue to do this. Okay, but then that's not a flip zone. We only grabbed external liquidity from the sides, came back to mitigate this load with internal liquidity, and continued back up to grab external liquidity. So we don't have a flip zone at that point.
You said you should check daily.
The daily chart. The daily chart will still give me the same picture, except it's not that low that we're talking about. No, we can't be. We can't call this a flip zone because where did we take the liquidity from? The liquidity we should be concerned about. Where did we take it from? Okay, so this is just clear delivery. We shifted this high back to internal, shifted this high back to internal, we shifted this high, and then we are currently at a supply zone that could serve as internal liquidity. Okay. So there's no new play happening inside of this area that I'm aware of. Okay, if I take this out on the DXY, we could see this as the guy who sponsored the breakout structure that could now sponsor a bullish rally to the upside. Let me see this on the 4-hour time frame and see what's happening inside of the area. Okay, so price tapped into this area, right? And then shifted momentum, came back here with the low 2 and then broke structure. Okay, so yeah, so this is the high that broke structure has juice. We tapped below that to grab liquidity, and then we're trying to see some kind of bullishness. Okay, so let's just see how that goes. Okay, I can't see any flip zone. There's one here I'm open to seeing, so please can you help me spot it out? So probably I'm not, probably I can just see it. Except you're not talking about current pricing. Okay, except you're not talking about current pricing. For the current point, I obviously can't see a flip zone. I just see internal liquidity is being taken.
It's saying something under the comment section, sir.
Okay,
He said, can issue.
Let me check that. Please, can you tell me the price daily? Sorry. Just tell me the price points. Call the price points for me, the price point on the left, so I can mark it out on the screen. Yeah, I can't begin to transfer host and all of that at the time. It will slow down the process. So just type the price points you're concerned with. where you think there's a flip zone. So, or better still, you can take a screenshot on your screen and then send it to the interactive area on the group. Do the labeling on your chart and then send it to the interactive area on the group. I will share the screen from that point, so you can see that and then revert back to my screen. Okay, so okay, so I'm waiting for you to do that. When you do that, let me know in the comment section so I can get back to that. So basically, this is just what we have on the Euro USD. For a flip zone, you need to see a clear, for a bullish flip zone, you need to see a clear bearish setup. Okay, a clear bearish setup should be a grab on liquidity, a break of structure, return, but fail to continue to grab external liquidity, and then goes back to fill this zone. Okay, so sometimes you can see this and this, and then this. Okay, now in this kind of a situation, somebody asks, why should, what was that question again? Flip zones, concerning flip zones being price reacting below a flip zone, right? Okay, so this is what could happen possibly. The main internal liquidity that price could be after could be inside of this range. Price took that internal liquidity, right? And then gave this move, but failed to take out this high. Okay, and then we have this, and then we have this. So easy, okay? You should have your flip zone here, right? True or false? That would be a flip zone, right? Answer me if I'm wrong now, somebody. Would you pick this as your flip zone?
I wouldn't take that, sir.
You wouldn't take this. Where would you take as your flip zone?
I would have been fine if that lower high took the lower low out and it failed to come lower.
Okay, so where do you think you will have your flip zone? Where? Here? There?
No, sir. It is that fourth place that you marked.
This first place, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so obviously everybody will want to trade from this first place. Okay, but there's something you should understand. Okay, if the liquidity target of, sorry, give me a minute. If the liquidity target, the internal liquidity that this area was after is inside of this range, okay, so we have this here as the grab on liquidity, okay, and then with broken structure or whatever, right, in external liquidity, we have come back for internal liquidity, and then we failed to make lower pricing because originally this is supposed to be our target liquidity, right? This low is supposed to be the next target liquidity for external. Okay, but as soon as we fail to do that, and we have tapped into internal, but failed to deliver to external. Okay, so price tapped into internal and then did all of this and then went back to take external. We now have a new move. What is the new move? This becomes swing 1, swing 2, swing 3. Okay, by default. Okay, so we now have swing 1, swing 2, swing 3. So inside of this range, even as we are looking out for flip zone, we are now concerned with the low that broke what? Structure. Why? Because we have had the main reaction from this point that failed to go lower before this move and this move. Okay, so now we are looking for our juice below swing low 2, like I will always explain. So at that point, price can easily violate your block and then come back here to do this, right, before coming back for this. So giving us a grab of internal liquidity and then coming to deliver to external. Does that make sense? Now, the only time where we will not see this happen is when we have this kind of flip zones. When we have this here, so we have, look for a clear illustration. Okay, so grab on liquidity, shift in structure, price comes here directly, tries to give an impact and fails. At this point, let me delete this. So you can see the distinction between the both of them. Okay, at this point, price can now boldly come back to this range. Okay, because this is the actual guy that tried to grab internal liquidity, right? But failed to push lower and move. It is totally different from this one. Why did I choke this up? Okay. Okay, so let's see the both of them. I don't know if you can see the distinction between the both of them. Okay, so this one had tried to grab liquidity already at the first reaction, but failed. But went back there, still grabbed the external from this side, and then tried to give us another reaction. So it is giving us a full story as a shift in momentum and break of structure. Shift in momentum, right? And then break of structure. So price will be interested in coming below the guy that broke structure, because that is where the source should be. Okay, and then we can now see this. But it is quite different when we are dealing with this kind of ranges. This kind of ranges, we just had a level of supply that failed. And then it basically transfers power to the demand that failed the supply. Do you understand the difference? So we do not have this story present here. We just have price try to tap into demand and give us some sort of reaction, but then fails the demand. Okay, they tap into supply, give us some sort of reaction, but then fails the supply, right? And then comes back to mitigate the demand that failed the supply before it moves. Okay. All right, so let's check. Do we understand this? So we can check the interactive area for the DXY question now guy was asking. We good? Everybody understood this?
Yeah, the first somehow confusing.
Which of them is confusing?
The first one that failed to grab the first liquidity and came to take the external.
It's not supposed to be confusing. It's a clear pattern. I drew a clear pattern. It's not, don't try to overthink it. It is exactly how you see it on your chart. After grabbing internal liquidity, it tries to give some sort of correction, but fails to take external. Now it goes back to the high and now it tries to give you another kind of correction. So we have swing 1, 2, 3, 4 before break. Swing 1, 2, 3, 4 before break, right? But on this one, we just have a first swing up, mitigates back down, and then fails, okay? And then breaks. So this is simple 1, 2, 3. Unlike your 1, 2, 3, 4 move, then break. Okay, so this is a more simpler version. When you have this kind of simple move, tries to mitigate your supply level, but then fills the supply immediately. And then there is another flip zone I taught on the last class, where we have price, do this, grab liquidity, shift structure, right? And aggressively breaks this after grabbing liquidity and shifting structure. Okay, I taught this on the last class, right? Did I teach this? When I was talking about the liquidity variance. So this was a grab on liquidity, right? And then price continued to shift structure, but aggressively clears the high. Okay, and then I taught you that you will now be willing to work with the last week or the last high or low before the inefficiency. Okay, that is where price will come back to, and I'll give you a reversal. Okay, to the upside. Okay, I taught this in the last class as well. So these are the 3 types of flip zone variants that I'm aware of or that I know. Okay, this is the basic flip zone being taught everywhere, right? And now I see this everywhere. It's quite basic. But this and this are what I've observed myself on the chat. So when people message me, a lot of people do that of recent. I don't know why where they come up with those dumb ideas. Okay, people message me and they're like, who taught you this? Who taught you that? How did you learn this? And I say I learned it from studying the chat. And they are like, I don't want to give credit to my mentors. I don't want to. If you've ever seen this on any video on YouTube or anywhere, anybody, please signify. Let me know, please, somebody. Okay, when people don't study, they want to press it on you to make you feel like you don't study. If there's anything I teach you out of my way, I will never call it my stuff because I believe I don't have any stuff. If I've seen it in price, it means some other person somewhere have seen it in price. That is why I'm not a fan of people who see something in price and then they give it a name and then they call it their stuff. And somebody say that this is my stuff that I invented. You did not invent anything. Okay, the market has been in place since the 1800s. So you don't come up and say you invented stuff or you saw because the same way I saw it on price and I backtested a few times, some other person somewhere in the world saw it as well. So I can't come to say it's my stuff. But I'm just saying it's unique content. Okay, it's good stuff and it's unique content. Okay, so I don't know if you have friends who come to my DM to do that, please. It's not cool. Okay, so study. Those are the three liquidity variants that the three flip zone variants that I'm aware of at the time. And then I believe as time goes on, if anyone should present itself, we would be learning that together as well. Now, it's a quite interesting thing for me because I basically started trading currency pairs this year. And then this is my first Q4 as a currency pair trader. It is one of the reasons why I am not teaching you the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 thing, and then telling you this happens in Q4 or this happens in Q3 or this, because I do not like to base my lectures or my teaching off hearsays or they say. Okay, I like to base my teachings off my experience. Okay, real-time experience I've seen play out. Okay, so at the time I'm gathering all the experience that I can, and then I'm seeing all of that happen with the sessions as we are making progress. Okay, so I can now boldly tell you next year that last year in Q4, I experienced A, B, C, and D, and this is how price presented itself. So at the time, I am learning all of this with you, and it's more exciting for me to see that you're willing to do all of this together. Okay, so I'm not trying to present myself or portray myself as some guru or as some trading genius or some goats. I'm not some goats or whatever. Okay, I'm just a student of the chat, loves learning and then loves sharing the information that I get in the chat because it's more fun when you do it with a group. Okay, so we're basically learning together and then we're all mates. Okay, so let's see what he sends on the chat, something he talked about the flip zone. And then let's see if that's indeed a flip zone. So we're working through that together. Okay, so sell side. Price of demand with the reference for ability to make it higher controls it took. So it's like demand supply. Okay, let's see that. Let's see that. What time frame is that? The DXY daily. Debit, buy side liquidity, sell side. Okay. All right, let me see that in our chat. Let's see that in our chat then. Let's share that in our chat. That's the DXY daily time frame. And then let's try to get a hold of the picture he's trying to share. Okay, so he's talking about this picture, right? Brother, if you're on the call, can you unmute your mic so we discuss this together?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me now? I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, sir. It's actually TVC chart, TVC, DXY TVC.
It's the same
I
thing.
think
It's the same thing. Okay, I'm just working with the 15 minutes. I'm trying to get a clear picture you're trying to talk about, right? If this could be a flip zone, right? But then we cannot obviously call this a flip zone because this was a clear mitigation. Everything here was inducement highs, where inducement highs to be taken. Okay, I cannot call this a grab on liquidity because this is quite a distance. Okay, the liquidity does not have to be, the algo does not work this way. This is too much space. Okay, this is how many points could this be on DXY? It's like 6,477 points on DXY. Okay, so that's too much move. That's too much move. Okay, so that's not a flip. Okay, if it's a flip zone, this is what I can consider as now good. This is now a grab on liquidity. This is the proximity. Grab on liquidity, shifts structure, came back for internal liquidity by virtue of what? Inefficiency instead of this range. Okay, I don't know if I've taught you guys gaps. Okay, I believe I would one of these days. Okay, so came back to fill this gap as inefficiency and then continued downwards aggressively. So this is no flip zone. The only time we would have had a flip zone is after price grabbed liquidity and shifted structure Okay, we now continue to do this to the upside. Okay, thereby
Okay.
failing this high. So once this high fails, we'll now be concerned about the level of demand that failed this high. Okay, to expect price to now come back to that point and then give us some certain move to the upside.
Okay, got it, bro.
All right, man. Thank you very much for sharing.
Okay.
Okay, so let's make progress, guys, very quickly so we can round up. Tomorrow is Monday, and a lot of you guys will be going to work and all of that. Plus, I need to rest. So I'll just say a few things very fast for as it regards to the new week. Okay. Now, this is what I would like to advise you guys, especially for the new guys who have joined the group. I want to believe you have watched through the psychology section, which is supposed to be like the first course on this, but then for some reason, I had to teach that just a few days ago, I think, or a few weeks ago. Okay, it's very important that you know that trading is it requires a high level of skill. Okay, it requires mental skill, it requires all of that skill, it requires patience, it requires discipline, it requires all of that. Okay, now, like it or not, at the early stage of you being a trader, you have your emotions all over the place. Okay, you have your emotions all over the place. You have your discipline messy. Okay, you want to try everything, you want to do everything, you just want to make profit, you want to try it and see it work. Oh, Dr. Banks explained it on the call, and when he was explaining it, I could see it very well. Now I am alone on my screen, and then it's quite difficult for me to see all the things he talked about and all of that. You're going to experience all of that. And then it is very normal to experience all of that. There is nothing wrong with you. You are learning very well, okay? Now, this is what you should understand. This is something you should understand, okay? Let me share my whiteboard. I do not like to talk about psychology a lot because it makes me talk too much. Yeah, so guys, our YouTube channel should be launching in the coming year. And then we should be seeing lots of amazing content, basically based on psychology. I will not be teaching anything technical on YouTube. Nah, I don't want to put that out on YouTube. It's just for the house. Where's my whiteboard again? Whiteboard, 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 whiteboard. Where are you, whiteboard? I think I'm growing too old. I don't know where. This old age. All right, so I'll just, no problem. I'll just use what I have here and annotate, okay? So what happens is, let's assume this is let's assume the whole of this box is your mind, is your brain, okay? And then you had a certain level of knowledge inside of your head prior to this time, okay? The knowledge of support and resistance, the knowledge of SMC that you've had, the knowledge of supply and demand you've had, the knowledge you've gotten from YouTube and all of those other mentors, the other amazing guys you follow and all of those things have built an edge in your head and then have built a foundation that should form the basis of how you trade in your mind. Okay, so let's call this prior knowledge. So this is prior knowledge, right? Now, there's something called superior knowledge. Superior knowledge is anything that gives you a better result than prior knowledge. Now, when superior knowledge comes in as blue, it is impossible that it just comes in and begin to excel. It is impossible that it just comes in and begins to excel. Nah, that's not true. Okay, when it comes in, it first begins to subconsciously battle. It first begins to subconsciously battle with prior knowledge. Can't get my tool. Give me a minute. So why are you not coming in? Why are you not coming in? All right. So it first begins to battle with prior knowledge, right? My pen is not working again. All right, good. So it first begins to battle with prior knowledge and try to build a base within that, okay? It's trying to mix with what you have. So at the time, you do not totally disagree with what I teach, but instead of trying to accept it, you're trying to marry it with what you know already, how you can mix the knowledge of what I'm teaching you with what you already know, okay? So at the time, it is difficult for superior knowledge to excel because it is mixing with prior knowledge. And then I say some things that you do not totally disagree with, but you do not totally sit well with. Okay, so all that time you have all of this mixed up in your mind. Okay, and then there is a serious conflict between what I'm teaching you and what you know already. You may be willing to accept it, but it happens in your mind. You don't see all of this happen. Okay, now the more time you stay inside of this session, while all of this is happening, you may be seeing the setup that I've explained to you play out, and then you're willing to wait for price to come below to move, but something is telling you that it will respect this other block. Okay, so you set your entry on this other block, and then it taps in and taps you out before it moves. And then you're like, oh, I know this thing. Why do I keep getting stopped out? And then you try it, and then you have a -1 arrow. And then the next time you wait for it, you wait for my setup to come, and then price does this and does this and does this, but never comes back to that point and move. And you're like, this Dr. Banks thing does not work. I'll go back to my stuff. And then you go back to your stuff and it works perfectly well for you. Price respects your other block the second time and moves. And then the third time you're back to your other block and it fails again. And you're like, SMC is sharp, other block does not work anymore, blah, blah, blah. What is happening at that time? Okay, the new knowledge you have received is still trying to battle with the prior knowledge you have received. It is called the unlearning phase. Okay, that's when you're trying to unlearn. You're trying to adapt. You're trying to adapt to the newness that you have received. Okay, it is going to continue happening until the new knowledge have gained supremacy, has gained charge, total charge of the way you see price. Okay, it's going to keep happening till whenever you open your chart, you just begin to hear my voice tell you, wait for the swing low that took out the structure. It begins to tell you this is the second liquidity variant. It begins to tell you that you should not enter off the block. You should wait to see a confirmation on liquidity. It begins to tell you that after internal liquidity, you're going for external liquidity. It begins to tell you that when you have internal to internal, you're experiencing a change of structure. It begins to tell you that you should choose a session and marry a session and trade that session till you understand. It begins to do all of that. So it has taken a hold of the foundation. Okay, that you have little or nothing from what you used to do present in your mind. You're now willing to accept the new knowledge that you have seen, and then has taken over the base. Now, mind you, you are not seeing profit in all of this stage. Your mind is only trying to adapt to the newness. So at this point, you can look at the chart and understand what is going on, but you are not getting those 1 to 10s or 1 to 15s yet. Okay, but then if you stop loss, if you get in on a stop loss, you know exactly why you have taken a stop loss, right? You can backtest your chart and see what the problem is. And then when you get on Zooms, you're not trying to argue, you're not trying to fight, you're just trying to learn. And then when you have questions, you're not trying to antagonize, you're only trying to get constructive questions as to how you can be better. You're not trying to look out for loopholes as to how to make whoever is teaching feel like you are a better trader. You're not trying to prove yourself, you're just trying to make progress. Okay, after all of this has happened and you now have a new foundation, then you can now begin to build on that foundation. Okay, so this is now you are now beginning to accept, and then you're now getting profitable. Your system is now giving you 10%, 20%, 30%. You should continue until you get to the point where you're totally full with this thing, and then it just becomes your trading style. Does that make sense? Okay, so it is totally normal, okay, that you're experiencing everything that you're experiencing. It is totally normal that you experience everything that you're experiencing. Okay, so do not go too hard on yourself. Do not go trying to feel you're not getting it, or you're not following, or you are not all over. Okay, so don't have that approach when you trade. Be willing to put in a lifetime, if a lifetime is what it takes for you to get the freedom that you deserve. If you could do what the jargon and all the rubbish you did in school for 4 years, for 3 years, for 5 years, for all over, especially for those of you who are Nigerians, to come out and become a civil servant, okay, you should now be willing to put in the required work and the required time, and not be in a haste. You don't determine how long it takes for your breakthrough. We can reduce the pace, but you can't determine how long. By reducing the pace, I mean you can reduce the time, but you can't determine how long it takes. By reducing the time, I mean you're getting a good mentor, you're getting the right knowledge, you're learning enough, you are spending more time with your PC, you're asking the right questions and all of that. Yes. So if it's supposed to take you 10 years, you can be shortening it down to 6 years or 5 years, or what the case may be. But nobody knows what year or how long it's going to take for you to finally assimilate this whole thing and get to your aha moment, okay, and see the victory that you want. So until then, keep showing up, keep doing. It gets very frustrating on the long run. At the point it's going to get very frustrating, you're going to want to give up. I've had a few folks who had come to me and then started with me and did all of those things, and then they have given up along the way. Now, I pride myself as a very good teacher because, yeah, by God's grace, I know how I teach pretty well. But then I've had people who have come to me and still say my stuff is hard, and then they want to try to get it somewhere else or do something else, or SMC is hard or trading is hard and all of that. Okay? It's going to get frustrating for you, but if you're willing to stay through the time, you will come out victorious. Okay, so I'm advising all of you guys, stay put, keep doing it one step at a time, even when it doesn't make sense. Keep showing up. Very soon, it will definitely begin to make sense. Okay, guys? So that's all for tonight. I wouldn't want to be saying too much. We've spent over an hour already. I'll see you guys in London tomorrow. So do have an amazing night rest, everybody. And I hope you sleep well.
All right, thanks, sir.
All right, good night, guys. Yeah, have a profitable week, mates. Thank you. Bye.